What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the SG3 podcast. As always, please hit that subscribe button down below. Excited to have you here on today's episode, but it could be a bit controversial, so I apologize ahead of time. So, the Final Four is happening for both the men's and the women's teams this week. Tomorrow will be the semifinals of the women's tournament in Cleveland as South Carolina will take on North Carolina State, and the University of Connecticut will host the Iowa Hawkeyes. Now, the reason I bring the women's up first is because there's been a bit of controversy brewing on television today, particularly with ESPN's First Take. Now, what does the women's basketball thing have to do with First Take? Well, moderator of the show, Molly Qerim, is a diehard UConn Huskies alum and fan. Nothing wrong with that, but there's been a bit of an issue with what she said recently on Iowa superstar Caitlin Clark. And for really what I want to bring up to all of you is check out this banner below. Disrespecting Iowa's Caitlin Clark due to the UConn bias. Now, I'm not surprised that bias takes place because hot take and clickbait seem to be like peanut butter and jelly. In the 21st century, it's almost as common as waking up and going to the bathroom, brushing your teeth, and all that. But as you guys can see right there below, Qerim says Iowa superstar Caitlin Clark is lucky that the UConn Huskies, led by Paige Bueckers, a superstar in her own right, they're not healthy entering the Final Four matchup. And Qerim, yes, I may mispronounce her name, but in this case it's appropriate, believes that Bueckers sustaining knee injuries over the last two seasons are the reason that there is an extensive bit of coverage towards Iowa's Clark through this past tournament. Now, keep in mind, when Clark and the Hawkeyes beat LSU in the Elite Eight, there was definitely some disappointment. And that was largely because Angel Reese had beaten Clark in the national championship a year prior. There was a little bit of disappointment, notably from LSU fans, that their season was over. And there were other reasons for disappointment, but I don't feel it's appropriate to address it here right now. So in response to that, I'm going to be playing a clip here of Qerim's comments. And frankly, Stephen A. Smith and Monica McNutt, one of whom I had the pleasure of hearing from when I was at Boston University, my professor Sherrod Blakely had asked Ms. McNutt to come to our class and talk to us. And Mr. Smith, i.e. the voice in the face of ESPN, he's had his own controversial things, but this time Mr. Smith is 100% on the money. Kudos to him in the biggest way. Let's play the clip of Molly Qerim.
All I got to say is she's lucky this UConn team isn't healthy. And that's a true statement.
That's not. That's wrong, Molly.
Monica?
That's wrong, Molly. Molly,
like
it's
five
excuses.
top players,
it's excuses,
am I right?
Molly. It's excuses.
Major injury.
You would not be saying that if it wasn't UConn.
Major stars not playing.
Listen, I'm among them this year that I was like, oh, UConn not the UConn of old, and here they are. So.
But I'm just saying, she wouldn't be bringing that up if that's what's unfair about Hoggy. Molly would not be bringing that up if it were not UConn.
A hit dog will holler.
You understand? Hold on. Is Paige Bueckers big time? She's spectacular, right?
You know what?
Excuse me.
Go.
It's her against Caitlin Clark.
Stephen A.
Ain't no excuses.
Stephen
you
A.
got there. Don't want to hear that now.
Stephen A.
Let me tell you, if
Paige
Georgetown
Bueckers
gets back in the mix, I'm going to be insufferable. I'm just telling you that now.
What?
If Georgetown gets back in the mix on the men's or women's side, I will be insufferable.
Okay, so you
Monica, if Paige Bueckers didn't basically miss 2 seasons, I don't know if we'd be talking about Caitlin Clark the way we are now. And that's facts,
and to that point, it was the two of them.
I said that the other day.
I said that the other day. I was out of the country.
I'm just saying, don't bring up now that they completed roster. They got to the Final Four. Don't bring it up.
Gotta go to break.
Lucky that Paige Bueckers was hurt. Because Paige Bueckers got injured the last 2 years, that's all of a sudden a reason for Caitlin Clark's success? Is that where we're going, Molly? How about we make an excuse for what happened when UConn beat Butler in the Final Four? Butler didn't have Gordon Hayward. Did they use that as an excuse, losing to Kemba, Oriaki, Roscoe Smith, and Tyler Orlander and those guys? Jeremy Lamb? Can't forget him. My apologies for initially not saying him first. We're really going to go that route? We're going to complain about San Diego State getting a little bit overwhelmed by Adama and the guys there with Dan Hurley? Adama Sanogo, excuse me. Donovan Clingan. We really going to be going this route? What about when UConn was beating up all those other guys during the years? Other people had injuries, but they didn't say anything about luck. What's the deal? What are you really trying to say here? You nervous? You really nervous about potentially losing? I mean, we got nothing to lose. Iowa's a favorite. What you worried about? So if Paige Bueckers goes in and beats Iowa, you're gonna come on Monday and start disrespecting Caitlin Clark again? If Caitlin Clark were to somehow lose to South Carolina and Dawn Staley or North Carolina State in the national championship after beating the Huskies, does that diminish your greatness? You gonna bring up Paige Bueckers at that point? Let me make it clear. I'm a huge fan of Paige Bueckers, but this sounds more like excuse making and pre-built-in excuses. It's also heightened of sensitivity because it's not her. It's just the days of pre-building in excuses. Just go out and play, man. Respect both of them without having to say someone's lucky. That sounds like Rob Parker and his bull in the jive with Tom Brady. He's lucky for the success. Well, you would know luck, Parker. You really would. Check out your background and the takes you've given. You lucky they even let you talk on Fox Sports. Now, as it pertains to Qerim, why would you say something? What's your point for saying something like this? What are you really trying to say here? It's very simple. You're building an excuse. And no one can say anything, and then you're interrupting Stephen A. I mean, that's just great. We've seen that. Where have we seen that before? Oh, wait. We've seen it everywhere. Heck, you even texted that by your own mother on live television, and you tried to call out your mom. That's embarrassing. That is beyond embarrassing. You saying that Caitlin Clark will have a tough time against UConn? Okay, cool. That's just the way it is. But to say she's lucky to face an undermanned UConn team, this UConn team is still in the Final Four in case you forgot. Okay, they just beat Juju Watkins and USC. A legitimate argument could be made that USC should be in the Final Four and not UConn. But UConn's there. You ain't got no problem with them beating Juju. Now all of a sudden you got an issue with Caitlin. Really. Unbelievable. Frankly, why am I so agitated about this? It's because we are living in a day in society where excuses seem to be the norm. And being unfair seems to be the gospel of television. It is what it is. And I'm not going to sit around and just roll my eyes. It's trending on Twitter, and rightfully so. Rightfully so, excuse me. But kudos to Stephen A. for stepping up. Kudos to Monica McNutt. Yeah, if Georgetown was like this good to be insufferable, heck yeah, you're a Georgetown alum. Insufferable, but Monica ain't going to say something rude like someone's lucky. Matter of fact, when she spoke to our class, she was a huge Georgetown. She talked about the greatness of that thing, and she was always fair to the opposition. She even gave credit to Villanova when Hoya paranoia was going on. And I appreciate that. She answered questions. She was really an inspiring figure, Miss McNutt, and I truly appreciate you speaking to our class. You made me feel like, you know what? I could be just like her. I can be tough. I can do what I need to do. And I really appreciate her for that. I've had my issues with Stephen A's takes, but at least the man worked his butt off. And I respect Molly as well, but this particular take was flat out disrespectful and reeks of pettiness and petulance. So we'll see what happens when UConn faces Iowa. I wonder, if UConn was to lose, what would happen? Matter of fact, what if the men and women don't win the championship for UConn? What's Molly going to say? Probably taunt probably be upset that people are taunting her because she's taunted Stephen A with the Knicks and Julius Randle's injury, and that's God bless Julius Randle. Hopefully he comes back healthy. May heck, she calls him annoying, she calls him peanut head, but we know if the roles were reversed, Norby, Williamson, Jimmy Pitaro, and Dave Roberts are getting a phone call with a shrieking wail, and we know what that is. I ain't gonna go further than that. But that's all I got to say about this. Friday night, UConn taking on Iowa, and then North Carolina State against South Carolina Gamecocks. As per the men's side, the Alabama Crimson Tide take on the men's UConn team, while Purdue will face the NC State men's team. Kudos to UConn and NC State for having their men's and women's teams on the biggest stage in basketball. Should make for an exciting weekend, which will culminate on Monday night with the men's title. As always, please hit that subscribe button down below. My name's SG. We'll see you guys next time. Peace out, everybody. And oh, by the way, just to be sure, that's my @ Have a great day, y'all.